She thought the monster inside her was a curse. But when the sky split open and ancient shadows returned, she realized she was the only thing standing between the city and its end. Was she still human, or had she become the very thing she feared? Stay till the end, because the truth behind her power will leave you breathless. The street was empty. Cold wind howled between the tall, cracked buildings. The sound of her footsteps echoed, sharp and lonely. Claire pulled her coat tighter. Her breath came out in small clouds, mixing with the fog that crept along the ground. The city felt different tonight, quieter, darker, watching. A rustle came from behind her. Then laughter. Low. Male. Mocking. She turned, heart pounding. 3 figures stepped from the shadows. Their eyes glinted like blades. "You are out late," one said, smirking. Claire tried to stay calm. Her voice trembled as she said she had no money. They laughed again. The tallest one reached for her bag. Her pulse thundered in her ears. The air felt thick, heavy, charged. And then, a growl. It came from the darkness behind her. Deep, animalistic, vibrating through the ground. The men froze. Their smirks vanished. Something moved in the fog. Massive. Silent. 2 glowing eyes appeared, amber and furious. The tallest man took a step back. "What is that?" he whispered. The growl grew louder, closer. Claire's fear shifted into something else, a quiet, secret relief. Her lips curved slightly. She whispered softly, "You should not have followed me." The creature emerged. Black fur shimmered beneath the streetlight. Muscles rippled under its skin. Its teeth, long and sharp, glistened like polished ivory. The attackers stumbled backward, cursing. One tried to run. The creature lunged, blocking the path. The air smelled of iron and fear. Claire did not move. Her eyes never left the beast's form. It glanced at her, as if asking permission. She nodded once. A scream cut through the night. Then another. The street filled with chaos, footsteps, shouts, the sound of tearing fabric. When silence returned, the fog seemed thicker. Claire stood alone again. The creature's shape faded into the mist. Only the echo of its growl remained. She reached down and touched the silver pendant around her neck. It was warm. The chain pulsed faintly, as if alive. From somewhere far off, sirens wailed. But Claire only smiled, calm, unafraid. Because she knew the truth. Her protector never left her side. And as the night swallowed the street again, something moved on the rooftops. Watching, waiting for her next command. The next morning, the city woke to whispers. Police tape fluttered in the wind. Reporters crowded the alleyway, faces pale, voices hushed. No one could explain what had happened. No footprints but hers. No weapon. Only deep claw marks in the brick walls. Claire watched from across the street, blending with the crowd. Her eyes followed the officers as they examined the scene. One of them lifted something, a shred of black fabric, torn and burned at the edges. Her stomach tightened. She turned away before anyone noticed her. The pendant under her shirt throbbed again, soft but insistent. By noon, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It read, "Control it, before it controls you." Her hands trembled. She deleted the message. But the words burned in her mind. That night, she dreamed of eyes, golden, glowing, always watching. When she woke, her window was open. The curtains fluttered though there was no wind. On the sill, a black feather rested, thick, oily, unnaturally warm. She stared at it, heart pounding. Then a voice, low, deep, and familiar, spoke behind her. "You called me," it said. Claire froze. Her throat tightened, but she did not scream. Slowly, she turned. He stood in the corner, tall, half shadow, half man. Eyes like molten amber. His presence filled the room like heat from a fire. You protected me, she whispered. He smiled, not kindly. I obeyed, he said. As long as the bond holds. She clutched the pendant. What bond? He stepped closer. The light flickered. The room felt smaller, the air too thick to breathe. The one you sealed when you begged for strength, he said. The one that keeps me near, and you alive. Her breath caught. Memories rushed back, the night in the woods, the chanting, the blood on her palm. The wish she made in desperation. Claire stumbled backward, shaking her head. I wanted protection. Not this. The creature tilted his head. And you have it. But every shield has its price. He reached out, his clawed hand brushing the air between them. Sparks flickered. Her pendant glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Then, from outside, came another sound. A scream. High, sharp, terrified. Claire's head snapped toward the window. The creature's eyes darkened. It begins again, he said. She ran to the glass. Down below, shadows moved fast, people running, lights flickering out one by one. When she looked back, the creature was gone. Only the open window remained. And in the distance, through the fog, she saw two golden eyes staring up at her. Waiting. Calling. And she knew, the bond was waking again. Claire's pulse quickened. The city lights outside flickered, one by one, until the street was swallowed by shadow. Somewhere far below, glass shattered. Then silence, the kind that presses against your chest, heavy and electric. She gripped the window frame. Her reflection trembled in the glass, pale, frightened, and glowing faintly with the light from her pendant. The air shimmered. A whisper crawled through the darkness. Do not fight it. She spun around. No one was there. But the scent of smoke filled the room, not from fire, but something older, something that carried the weight of forgotten places. The pendant burned against her skin. Her breath came shallow. In the hallway, she heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. Not the creature's heavy tread. Human. A knock. 3 sharp raps. Miss Claire Morgan, a voice called. Police. She hesitated, then opened the door slightly. 2 officers stood there. Their faces were drawn, eyes wary. We need to ask you a few questions about the incident last night, one said. His tone was careful, rehearsed. Claire nodded, forcing a smile. They stepped inside. One of them glanced around the apartment, eyes scanning the walls, the floor, the windows. The other pulled out a small notebook. There were reports, he said slowly, of a large animal seen near your street. You did not happen to notice anything unusual, did you? Her heart pounded. She tried to speak, but her voice came out thin. No, I was asleep. He watched her too long. Then, softly, he said, funny thing, Miss Morgan. The only tracks we found were leading to your door. Her mouth went dry. The pendant pulsed again, faster now, as if warning her. A faint growl rose from beneath the floorboards. The officers froze. Their eyes darted to the sound. What was that? One whispered. Before she could answer, the lights flickered and went out. A cold wind swept through the apartment. From the darkness came that same low, rumbling growl, closer this time, deeper, furious. Claire's breath hitched. She spun around, but the shadow was gone. Only the faint hum of the pendant filled the silence, a heartbeat that was not her own. Outside, the wind howled through the narrow streets. Sirens wailed in the distance, faint, distorted, fading as if the city itself was holding its breath. The 2 officers were still on the floor, pale and shaking. One tried to stand, gripping the wall for balance. He looked at her, fear widening his eyes. What are you? He whispered. Claire had no answer. She opened her mouth to speak, but something inside her shifted. A pulse, heavy, violent, surged through her veins. Her vision blurred. For a second, the room seemed to tilt, colors bleeding into one another. When she blinked, she saw them, claws instead of hands, eyes glowing gold in the reflection of the window. No, she gasped. She pressed her palms to her face, trembling. But the glow did not fade. It was inside her now. The taller officer stumbled toward the door, fumbling for his radio. But before he could reach it, the door slammed shut on its own. The lights buzzed and flickered. The pendant on her neck blazed bright white, searing her skin. Claire fell to her knees. A scream tore from her throat, not entirely human. Then, silence. When she lifted her head, her eyes were no longer blue. They burned like amber. The creature's voice echoed in her mind. The bond is not between two, it is one. You and I, the same breath, the same blood. Tears slid down her face. She understood now. The wish she made for protection had not summoned a guardian. It had awakened something buried within her. The officer stared, frozen. The younger one whispered a prayer under his breath. Claire looked at him, and for a heartbeat, she saw his fear reflected in her own eyes. She stood slowly. The glow around her pulsed, brightening, bending the air. Leave, she said, her voice deeper, resonant, commanding. They obeyed without hesitation. The door burst open, and they ran into the hall, stumbling over each other. Their footsteps faded down the stairs. Claire stood in the empty room, trembling. The pendant cooled against her skin. Outside, the clouds rolled across the moon, plunging the street into darkness. And from the alley below came another sound, soft, almost tender. A cry. A woman's voice calling for help. Claire's head turned sharply. Her pulse slowed. A strange calm washed over her. The voice called again. And this time, she smiled. Because deep inside her, something ancient stirred, eager, hungry, waiting to be released again. You said. Claire stepped toward the window. The night stretched beneath her, silent, endless, alive. The cry came once more, trembling through the fog. It was close now. Too close. She could feel the fear in it. It vibrated through her bones, through the strange new rhythm of her heart. The beast within stirred, sensing the call. She gripped the window frame. The city lights flickered below, dimming as if bowing to her presence. Her reflection in the glass smiled, though she did not. Do not answer, she whispered to herself. But the voice that replied came from inside her mind. You have no choice. The words vibrated through her chest. The pendant glowed again, faint but steady. The warmth spread outward, crawling across her skin like fire under glass. Her eyes shut tight. For a moment, she saw nothing, only memories. The night in the woods. The circle of salt. Her blood mixing with the earth. The whisper that promised, you will never be weak again. Her eyes opened. The city seemed sharper, every sound clear, every scent vivid. She could smell the woman's terror. She could taste it. Her hands trembled, but they no longer felt human. Her nails had lengthened. Her muscles rippled with something wild, something restless. She climbed onto the windowsill. The cold wind hit her face like a warning. Far below, shadows moved, two men dragging a woman into the alley. Her chest tightened. Her breath came slow, deliberate. The beast's voice whispered again. They are prey. She leapt. The air roared in her ears as she fell. And landed without a sound. The men froze. One dropped the woman's arm. The other stepped back, eyes wide. Claire's hair clung to her face, her shadow stretching long across the brick. The glow from her pendant illuminated her eyes, bright, golden, unnatural. Let her go, she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that made the night itself hold still. One man laughed nervously, reaching into his pocket. Who the hell are you? She tilted her head. The air around her shimmered. The scent of smoke returned. Then she moved, faster than thought. A blur of motion, a rush of wind, a sound like claws against stone. The man screamed. The other fell to his knees, frozen. The woman scrambled to her feet and ran, sobbing, disappearing into the street lights. When silence came again, Claire stood alone, breathing heavily. Her hands dripped red. The pendant was dark now, its light gone cold. The voice inside her whispered softly, almost pleased. Now you understand. We do not protect. We balance. She looked down at the bodies, still, lifeless, silent. The fog thickened, swallowing them whole. Claire turned away, heart pounding with a mix of fear and power. Above, lightning flashed without thunder. In that moment, she knew, she could never go back. The beast was no longer her defender. It was her reflection. And the city had just felt her awakening. You said. Rain began to fall. Slow at first, then heavier, a cold, relentless curtain washing over the alley. The blood on Claire's hands mixed with it, swirling into thin rivers that vanished into the cracks between the stones. She stood motionless beneath the flickering streetlight. The glow painted her face in golden shadow, her expression unreadable. Her breath came slow, calm, controlled, almost human again. But inside, the storm raged. She could feel the creature's presence pulsing through her, restless, whispering. It wanted more. Her stomach twisted. She pressed her palms against the wet bricks, trying to steady herself. Stop, she hissed under her breath. You are not me. The voice chuckled softly, a sound like wind through dry leaves. But I am. You opened the gate, Claire. We share one heart now. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She wanted to scream, to claw it out, but the power clung to her like smoke. Every heartbeat reminded her, the bond was alive. Somewhere behind her, footsteps splashed through the puddles. She turned sharply. A figure stepped from the fog, tall, cloaked, unmoving. For a heartbeat, she thought it was another attacker. But the figure spoke, voice low, smooth, knowing. So, you have awakened it. Claire froze. Who are you? The stranger smiled faintly, though the shadows hid most of his face. Someone who has seen this before. Someone who knows what you carry. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal symbol, a circle with two halves entwined, one dark, one light. It pulsed faintly in rhythm with her pendant. Claire's eyes widened. What is that? The mark of the order, he said. The only ones who understand what you have become. Her voice shook. And what am I? He took a step closer, rain dripping from his hood. You are not cursed, he said softly. You are chosen. But your bond, it is unstable. If you do not control it soon, it will consume you, and this city with you. Claire stared at him, torn between disbelief and fear. Why should I trust you? He tilted his head, studying her. Because the last one who wore that pendant destroyed everything she loved. Her chest tightened. The pendant suddenly felt heavier, as if it recognized the name of its past bearer. Images flashed in her mind, fire, screaming, a woman standing in ruins, her eyes glowing the same gold. Claire stumbled back, shaking. What do you want from me? To help you survive, he said. But you must come with me before the next moon rises. That is when the bond will test you. If you fail, it will break, and what lies beneath it will not stop. The rain intensified. Thunder rumbled above, deep and distant. Claire looked past him, toward the city skyline. The lights were flickering again. Her hand went to the pendant. It was burning now. Alive. And somewhere in the distance, a low growl echoed through the storm, not from the beast, but something older. Something that had heard the call. The stranger's gaze snapped upward. It is too soon, he whispered. Then, to her, run. But Claire did not move. She could feel it, the power beneath her skin surging, boiling, calling her name. And for the first time, she was not sure she wanted to resist it. The ground trembled beneath her feet. Rainwater rippled in the puddles, disturbed by something vast moving beneath the surface of the world. The air grew thick, heavy with the scent of ozone and ash. The stranger's hand shot out, grabbing her arm. "Claire, you must move, now." But she could not. Something deep within her had awakened again, stronger than before. Her heartbeat pounded in her chest like a drum summoning the storm. The pendant flared, blinding white, lighting up the alley as if it were midday. A roar tore through the night, long, guttural, furious. Windows shattered. Lights burst. The city seemed to recoil in pain. Claire dropped to her knees, clutching her chest. Her vision fractured, showing flashes, claws tearing through stone, wings slicing the air, eyes like suns staring through eternity. She screamed, but the sound was not hers anymore. The stranger fell back, shielding his face from the light. "Do not let it take you," he shouted over the thunder. "You are the vessel, not the weapon." But his words barely reached her. The storm inside her drowned everything. Her hands pressed against the ground, steam rising from her skin. The rain hissed when it touched her, evaporating instantly. Her hair lifted, caught in invisible wind. Then, suddenly, silence. The light dimmed. The rain froze midair, hanging like glass beads around her. Claire lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were no longer gold, they were white, glowing from within. Her voice came out layered, both hers and another's. "It remembers." The stranger's face drained of color. He backed away, whispering, "No, not that. Not her." Claire stood, her movements too fluid, too precise. The rain began to fall again, but it bent around her, never touching her skin. "What am I?" she asked, though the question sounded more like a declaration than a plea. The stranger steadied himself, breathing hard. "You are the air," he said. "The bond is not a curse, it is the legacy of the first guardian. The one who fell from grace." Her pulse quickened. Memories that were not hers flooded her mind, battles beneath burning skies, cities turned to dust, a shadowed throne surrounded by screams. And a voice, soft, sorrowful, saying, "They feared me because I loved too deeply." Claire staggered. Her hands shook as she looked down at them, human and monstrous at once. "I remember her," she whispered. The stranger swallowed hard. "Then you also remember what she became." The clouds split open. Lightning illuminated the skyline, but it was not ordinary lightning. Shapes moved inside it. Wings. Claws. Eyes watching from within the storm. "They are coming," he said. "The others who were bound before you. They sense the reawakening." Claire's chest heaved. She looked up at the storm, at the hundreds of eyes blinking open across the sky. For the first time, the beast inside her felt small. "What happens if they reach me?" she asked quietly. The stranger's voice was grim. "Then you will not be Claire anymore. You will be her." The wind howled, carrying the sound of distant screams. And as the first of the shadowed forms descended through the lightning, Claire felt the choice tightening inside her, to fight the thing she had become. Or to become the only thing strong enough to stop what was coming. The wind tore through the city like a living thing. Lightning split the sky open, flooding the streets with blinding white light. The shadows in the clouds screamed, a chorus of ancient voices awakening after centuries of silence. Claire stood at the heart of it all. The rain fell around her in spirals, bending away from her as though even the storm feared her touch. Her hair whipped around her face, and the pendant blazed so brightly it burned a symbol into the air, two halves entwined, the mark of balance. The stranger stepped forward, shouting over the wind. "You still have a choice." She looked back at him, her eyes glowing like the storm itself. "Do I?" she asked softly. The voice that answered carried two tones, hers and the one buried within her. Another roar echoed from above. Dark figures broke through the clouds, wings stretching wide, their eyes glinting with hunger. The creatures descended toward her, drawn to the power pulsing from her heart. The beast inside her whispered, "Let me take them." Let me finish what she began. But Claire did not move. She closed her eyes. She could still hear the woman's cry from the alley. The fear. The helplessness. The same fear she once felt, before she made the wish. Her breath steadied. The storm slowed. And deep inside, beneath the power and rage, she found something else, the echo of her own humanity. No, she whispered. Not this time. She pressed her hands together over the pendant. The light shifted from white to gold, soft and pure. It spread outward, rolling across the street, through the fog, up into the clouds. The creatures screamed as the light touched them, their forms unraveling into dust and ash. The thunder faded. The rain grew warm, falling gently again. When Claire opened her eyes, the storm was gone. Only the sound of dripping water remained. The stranger stood before her, eyes wide with disbelief. You contained it, he said quietly. You did what none of the others could. Claire looked at the horizon. The sun was rising, painting the city in pale gold. She smiled faintly, though her eyes were tired, centuries tired. The power was never meant to destroy, she said. It was meant to protect. We just forgot. The pendant dimmed, then cracked softly, releasing a final pulse of warmth before fading completely. The bond was gone. The beast was gone. And for the first time in years, Claire felt only her own heartbeat. The stranger nodded slowly. What will you do now? She turned toward the dawn, her silhouette framed in the new light. Live, she said. The world has enough monsters. Then she walked down the quiet, rain-soaked street. And as the last traces of the storm vanished from the sky, the city breathed again, unaware that its savior had just let go of the darkness that once defined her.